Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Go to Bolt fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, how about that Super Bowl last night? Put a big smile on my face seeing the Kansas City Chiefs get stomped into the ground, but it more got me excited about, putting my eyes on the future now, dudes. It feels like after that game, the new season officially has begun, and one of the first, legs of the offseason that gets really exciting is free agency. And the Chargers, who are flush with cash this season, but between it depends on who you ask, $70 to $100 million of cap space this season, we're going to be able to make some moves, make a splash, maybe even a trade here or there. But the first leg, obviously being free agency, we're going to have our pick of the litter here, man. Quick honorable mention here to kind of open up the video. Javon Holland. How cool would it be to have a safety complimenting Derwin James, a position that they definitely highly covet? That would be an awesome option for this defense. Maybe a little bit too expensive, but one of those guys to consider. I put a lot of thought into this list. I think there's a lot of good names on here that you can mix and match, and there's honestly a good chance the Chargers could sign a good number of these guys. It should be a really good one, man. A great way to kick off the offseason. How do we fill the holes on the roster, and who are we bringing in to help these Bolts in 2025? Before we do kick things off, man, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Use code DIRECTOR to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Newcomers, take advantage of the free pick here. Just because football season is over does not mean the Underdog fun has to end. Thank you guys so much for everyone who participated. We had a lot of fun yesterday. Should be a good season. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification. Helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
My top 10 free agent targets for your Los Angeles Chargers. Last year was about surviving. This year is about thriving. We got the money. We got the success in a Jim Harbaugh 11-win team. Let's keep building on it, baby. And let's start it off with maybe the most obvious name you're going to see on this list, right? We talked about Javon Holland. That would be exciting, maybe a little bit expensive. Well, if you're going to pony up the money, right? The Chargers really do have, 70, 80, $100 million, depending on how things shake out with, Joey Bosa. Maybe he gets traded or cut, and, how you maneuver the money and the players. More than likely, you're going to have the kind of money to spend on a guy like T. Higgins. And we often like to, I would say, whittle down the list in terms of good fits for these players when it comes to who has the most money to pony up the contract these players want, but also the situation that these guys are going to want to be in, right? We've talked at length at T. Higgins about, his potential fit with the Chargers, but I think one of the biggest things that keeps the Chargers in the foreground for a T. Higgins, dream destination, not only being the money, but man, you get to maintain high quarterback play, going from Joe Burrow to Justin Herbert's. Yeah, man, we've talked at length about this. Obvious huge need for the Chargers. We need the wide receiver help. He has major elite wide receiver one potential. Could single-handedly unlock this offense in very many ways that it needs. The defense has been fantastic. The offense needs to play catch-up here a little bit. And who better to catch the football than T. Higgins from Justin Herbert? He's put up consistent big numbers. He's got great size, route running, hand speed. Checks all the boxes that you would want from a wide receiver one target. He's estimated a 4-year, $28 million per season contract, which would put him, in range of like an Amon-Ra St. Brown size contract, which would certainly be something I would entertain if T. Higgins were to come to LA. He was just recently spotted in Los Angeles. Who knows? Maybe house shopping. No tampering going on here, but a great option and my number one free agent target for the Chargers this year. At number 2, another position of need that the Chargers really, you think about how the season could have shaked out if this position was a little bit stronger. We're going to go with Trey Smith, guard from the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, maybe not the most ceremonious send-off in the Super Bowl last night, but it doesn't change the fact that he is one of the very best guards in football. And the Chargers, again, where wide receiver was a huge need, I think all of us can agree that interior offensive line is going to be among the most important to address this offseason as well. And in my opinion, Trey Smith is the obvious, far and away best option to sign for interior offensive line. He's only 25 years old. He's graded solid in his first 4 seasons, some of the best in football. He's, I think, one of the most attractive options for the Chargers. One of the reasons for that is that he is a very exceptional run blocker. And as we saw with the Chargers, they're trying to accomplish one thing, right? They're trying to get that run game going to help Justin Herbert get that balance in the offense going and really turn a corner when it comes to the building the identity of having a stronger run game for the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh going forward. He was 10th among all guards in his run blocking this season, which would certainly be a big upgrade over what the Chargers have been rolling out with this year. Big body blocker, exactly what we need up front. Trey Smith, who would be getting, again, these are all estimates based on PFF, a 4-year, $20.5 million per season contract, putting him roughly, over $100 million. That is absolutely worth it. Now, again, as we're going along on this list, I want you guys to mix and match some names because obviously we're not going to be able to pay everybody, right? We can't sign every single one of these guys. However, you could, if you're going all in and you're throwing the chips down, man, you could get T. Higgins and Trey Smith if you feel that strongly about it. But we got some good options going down the list that might, help without breaking the bank as severely as some of these other guys. At number 3, can you guys guess? I don't know if you guys are going to guess. Out of all the free agents out there that have some big names like Chris Godwin and all these guys, who do you think I chose just my number 3 free agent the Chargers should target after the 2 big ones in T. Higgins and Trey Smith? This one might shock you a little bit. I got the Chargers needing to pick up the phone and call the agent of Drew Dahlman, center for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, he's projected a 4-year, $11.5 million per season contract. Yeah, it's decent for the center position, but dudes, come on. Let's take a look at how the Chargers offense operated when we had Corey Linsley at center versus when we don't have Corey Linsley. And that's also, including the seasons that maybe he was hurt, he missed some games. He did have that, medical condition that sidelined him that 1 year as well. But also, Bradley Bozeman, who, again, they like, but it just feels like it just wasn't there. It just wasn't working. And you compare those, offenses, I really do feel like center was such a big factor to the success of the Chargers offense, in those days of Corey Linsley. And Drew Dahlman, man, he'd be awesome. And again, there's bigger names even further down this list, like in this video. There's bigger names, but no, in my opinion, no bigger need than center for the Chargers to try and attack in free agency. I don't know how confident I am in this, draft class. There could be some, diamonds in the rough, but till then, man, I want a solid starter for Justin Herbert at that center position because, again, we need an exceptional player at center. I think we can get away with a good center, but I want an exceptional center for Justin Herbert because we've seen that potential and it worked for him in the past. I really do feel it was that big of a factor in Justin Herbert's success in those years with Corey Linsley. And Dahlman, he fits the bill, man. He's one of the very best run-blocking centers in all of football. He's a very capable pass blocker as well, but he graded 5th among all centers in football in run blocking. This position, it has to improve. It's got to do it quickly as well. It's not something that you can sit on. And if the Chargers, let's say they do get Trey Smith, let's say for a second here, like again, while we're thinking about the mixing and matching aspect of this whole thing, maybe the Chargers find a different solution than T. Higgins at wide receiver. What if we do go get DK Metcalf, right? Which is going to be a much cheaper money option, right? You got to give up a pick, maybe a second-round pick, but you're going to be saving some money there. And let's say instead they go get Trey Smith and spend up there. $20 million a season, definitely expensive, but they can also afford a Drew Dahlman. All of a sudden, you got your wide receiver, you got your center, your guard. Things are looking really good all of a sudden. So I don't know, man. Drew Dahlman, number 3 on my list, just because, man, that interior offensive line needs a lot of work. And Drew Dahlman, there's not going to be a lot of options this season, and there's not going to be a lot of options, I think, next season either. Drew Dahlman, like, this is one of those things, like, you got to pounce on, you got to attack it, get that center on the field, give Justin Herbert that consistency that he deserves, give the run blocking the attention it deserves as well. You guys remember when Corey Linsley and was it Aaron Jones in Green Bay? Those guys, they were one of the best scoring pairs in all of football. I want that back, but for the Chargers. All right, next up. Another name that, again, there's some big names on this list. I don't know how many people have their sights on this guy, but I put a ton of thought into this video, man. And I think if a Jim Harbaugh team is going to succeed, you're going to attack the positions that Jim Harbaugh has found success with. We're going back to the trenches. I need, at number 4, the Chargers to sign Milton Williams of the Philadelphia Eagles, your most recent Super Bowl champions. Milton Williams to the Los Angeles Chargers, man. He's projected a 3-year, $21 million per season contract. And this is pretty huge, man. I feel like that Super Bowl last night is something that we need to, give copies to every player and coach in the facility. Everyone's got to watch it 300-400 times and really break down the blueprint to beating the Chiefs, which may in fact be on display in that game. Interior defensive line pressure. Man, did the Chiefs just pummel, or I should say the Eagles just pummel the Chiefs in that game, largely due in part to the efforts of that defensive line and those edge players, man. It was awesome. And, spoiler alert, Chargers fans, we're going to need to go through the Chiefs in order to get to the Super Bowl at some point, right? Whether or not the Chiefs are the same team as they were, of yesterday, they did get kind of exposed, in that Super Bowl. We need to take the West at some point. And if at this point right now it feels like interior pressure is the way to make that happen, let's go get the guy who put them on notice yesterday, man. The man who helped accomplish the Super Bowl stomp in Milton Williams. This could be a slam dunk pick, dude. I should say a slam dunk a signing for the Chargers, man. You're thinking about the potential of maybe getting guys like Smith and Dahlman. We got to think about Milton Williams in the same light, man. I don't know. I really want to attack the trenches in free agency this year because I think you're going to need some skill position help in the draft. I think it's going to be a bit easier to find skill position help. Running back, maybe wide receiver, certainly tight end. But I want these big boys via free agency this season. That's where I'm willing to spend some money. Yeah? Because I don't want to take no chances. I want to get these guys on the roster. And it feels like, getting a unit in the middle of the defensive line like Milton Williams will go a long ways. And not just being successful in terms of interior pressure, but taking down the Chiefs specifically. This is a Chief-killing move. I want it on the football team, man. Williams, again, just to put on display of how good he was last season, Williams was the second best interior pass rusher in the NFL, in all of football. 6 sacks, and this is while he was rotating with Jalen Carter. Give me Milton Williams. Give him that 3-year contract. Give him this $21 million a season. I want him on the Bolts. All right? Halfway through the list. At number 5. And again, there's some big names. You guys can go to PFF. You can go online. You can see the top free agents available in the offseason this year. This is specifically tailored towards the Chargers in a almost mix and match, kind of light, where you can spend up on some guys and maybe save some money here and there. This next guy I think is kind of a middle ground for me. I think the Chargers sneakily are going to need help at cornerback this season. And Byron Murphy just keeps screaming in the back of my mind as a really good pickup for the Chargers, who are maybe going to be looking for a cornerback 1 this offseason. Tell me, are we going to find it in the draft? Maybe. It's possible if you find a way to get one maybe in the first round. But Byron Murphy, to me, man, especially with the Asante Samuel Jr. situation kind of up in the air, I feel like Murphy's a great fit. Man, he's a great fit for Minter's, new scheme. It's very, physical and aggressive. This guy is tough. He's physical. He's a great, run defender. He's great in coverage. I think he had a career season in interceptions, 6 picks in 2024. He fits the bill, doesn't quite break the bank. He's projected a 3-year, $17.3 million per season contract. He's only 27 years old. It's a position that I think sneakily is going to be of need. I feel like a lot of us maybe don't stress over it too much because we hit some slam dunks, in the middle of the draft with Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still. But we're still going to need, I feel like, that cornerback 1 to help keep the glue of the position together. Byron Murphy kind of screams that for me. I'm not opposed. I'll say this, just as kind of a extra, bit here at the end. I wouldn't be opposed to the Chargers taking on maybe another project like Christian Fulton, where it's like, okay, maybe, bad year or, down on their luck, but we'll help it turn around. Like Paulson Adebo would be a great target. He's projected like 13 million. Travarius Ward was once one of the best corners in the league. He saw a down year last year. He could be a bit cheaper. I think also around 13, 14 million a season. But for me, Byron Murphy just kind of fits everything you want in cornerback one. He's seen the recent success, and he should translate very well into the Jesse Minter defense, which has just resurrected so many careers. It would just elevate his, in my opinion. Next up, at number 6, we're going to stick to the DB position. And I'm going to tell you this, guys, right now. There's, again, some huge names. I was looking at Justin Simmons at one point. There was, oh my goodness, what was the other guy? There's Justin Simmons and, oh, it's going to kill me. Anyway, lots of big names at the safety position. Oh, Javon Holland, of course, and a couple other guys that the Chargers could be considering in free agency this year. I don't know if we quite need to break the bank at that position. I think we proved with guys like, Marcus May, certainly Tony Jefferson, some of these other guys that were kind of like brought in to help strengthen the position a little bit, maybe bigger names in the past. I think they did great. I think it's time to, maybe spend up a little bit and get a guy who you can invest your future in a little bit. I like Julian Blackmon a lot, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts. I think former third-round pick, had a lot of success in his first 3 years. Maybe not this huge, big superstar name that you're looking for, but a guy that I certainly think would fit in this defense beautifully. Find that Jesse Minter juice, you know what I mean? And just turn that potential knob up to 11 and find the success that he's, the potential that he's been carrying. Find that in this season with the Chargers. I see a lot of that, next level potential in Julian Blackmon in this system. A great kind of redemption project player, which I shouldn't even say that. He's had a pretty decent, career up to this point. And again, just being able to put him in an environment where he will thrive, because you guys go take a look at every single Charger free agent or every single Charger that was brought in terms, like most of them had a really good season, even if they had a down year. That's the potential of this defense. Right? Blackmon would be one of those players I feel like would thrive in the situation. He's also very cheap. His projected contract is 3 years at $7 million a season. Yes, please. He's flexible. He played a majority of his snaps at high safety last season, but he played primarily in the box in 2023. He's got the ability to move around. He's solid in coverage. I think only 3 interceptions last year in playing high coverage, but he was solid, man. Solid tackler, solid run defender. Again, just kind of that potential where you're like, hey, if you're not bringing back a Alohi Gilman, or even if you are, or whatever, like that's a cheap enough contract where you're thinking, hey, this guy might, walk onto the field and find that next level in Jesse Minter's system. That a lot of other guys have found so far in moving to LA. So I like Julian Blackmon a lot. Again, one of those cheaper options where you're like, hey, we need the boost, we need the potential. The Chargers can bring that out in a guy like Blackmon. I like it a lot. Speaking of which, we talk about turning the clock back a lot, right? Finding that youth, that fountain of youth in the Jesse Minter defense. Well, let's do it again with this guy, man. You guys know who this is? You guys remember who this is? Derek Barnett. Formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a superstar with them. Since then, he moved on. I think there was a team before this, right? But now on the Houston Texans. Has been a little quiet. But you know what? He's graded pretty solid despite that. He's been your rotational guy. And I think that's what I want from him. He's projected a 1-year, $4.25 million contract, so cheap. But he's an excellent option to keep that pass rush fresh and lethal. Because you have to imagine, I hope we bring back Khalil Mack, but even if we don't, you're going to see a lot of Tuli Tuipulotu. You may see some Bud Dupree. I know he's got one more year in that contract. The Chargers are going to want to stay 3 or 4 deep. You know what I mean? And Derek Barnett, I feel like, is a great option for that. He's 28 years old, still playing at a decent level. He's overall, a super solid pass rusher, but grades extra effectively versus the run. Like, that adds an extra layer of versatility. Like, hey, Barnett, let's get him out there on this rundown. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that added extra expertise would help add a little flavor to what the Chargers need at edge. But he's also just a great, solid player, man. Like, throw him out there, keeps the position 4 deep, and keeps the Chargers, in my mind, their philosophies at defense strong. keep that edge pressure going, keep it, fresh and consistent. And I feel like Derek Barnett is one of those guys, again, doesn't break the bank. You can go get, I honestly struggled with whether or not to put Chase Young on here or Hassan Reddick or one of those bigger names. I think Derek Barnett is just the perfect kind of player you want, where it's, again, very cheap, but effective at what you need right now. And in a world where I'm really hoping we bring back Khalil Mack for another year or two, Derek Barnett is kind of a guy that fits in that plan, okay? Next up, these next three guys, and spoiler alert, they're good names. Actually, they're pretty huge names if you think about it, but they're more of, in terms of their objective to being added to the roster, they are guys to help the young guns out. Because at this point, dude, I have a lot of faith in our GM to go out and have another great draft. You know what I mean? Ortiz was just a mastermind when it came to finding value last season. I do think we're going to see some positions strengthened, but they're going to need time to develop. And the first position I think the Chargers do attack in the draft at some point is going to still be guard. Interior offensive line, the trenches, period, need work. And as much as I'm hoping Zion Johnson bounces back, I don't have time to wait. You know what I mean? And he still has a year on his contract. I don't know if there's any reason to move on from him now. Maybe we just add some extra help out there, but I really want that interior offensive line just chef's kiss, ready to go, wind them up, see this run game thrive. Kevin Zeitler's another one of those guys that doesn't break the bank, but brings in super huge game-changing potential. 1 year, $6.25 million projected contract, very cheap. And again, like I said before, the Chargers are more than likely going to attack interior offensive line in the draft, but I still feel like we need immediate help. You can kick Zion Johnson to more of a depth role if you have to. You can still bring in rookies, to develop, but Zeitler to me is a great Band-Aid on a bullet wound when it comes to the guard position. Even if we do get Trey Smith, guys, it's a great backup plan, but I want it all when it comes to interior offensive line. Now, Zeitler, funny enough, the dude's older, right? He's 35 years old, but guys, go look at his last season. It's absurd. Yeah, you're spending a lot of money on a guy who's a lot older, but my goodness, his run blocking grade, it ranked third in all of the NFL. He's one of the big reasons why you saw that boost, with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. Like, those guys were just amazing. Zeitler is one of the reasons for it. And Zeitler's been around, man. Wasn't he the guy with the Browns? And was it the Jags? I think the Browns and Nick Chubb as well. Like, he's just that kind of dude. And I don't expect him to be like, the third best run blocker in the NFL next season, but certainly, in the top half, maybe in the top 20. That would be a big upgrade to what we have now. Yeah, I like it. Kevin Zeitler is a great guy to bring in to help segue in the young guys, right? A great stopgap player for the young players that are going to be drafted more than likely in this season by the Chargers. All right. Last two players, again, older guys that will probably bring some help to the young guns in the draft. Now, the next dude, there's a couple of players you could probably mix and match in here. I really do like Aaron Jones, projected a 2-year, $7 million per season contract. It's a little high. I'm not going to lie. I'm almost drawn towards, J.K. Dobbins a little bit more because he'll be super cheap, or, even Nick Chubb, who's only projected like a $3 million contract. He would be a great thunder to the lightning answer at running back. But right now, at the end of the season, when you go back and you look at the Chargers year and how the offense, was maybe a little inconsistent at times, it's just become very evident to me just how important the run game is going to be going forward. Like, we knew it was going to be a big thing, but I think if the Chargers had more help in terms of blocking and in terms of, some running back talent, we would have seen even more success than we already did in an 11-win season. The run game is huge, and we do need a reliable ball carrier right now. Now, again, I'm certainly open to a J.K. Dobbins return. I think that would be a very healthy move for the team. But if not, I feel like, Aaron Jones feels like a great short-term fit. He's got the physicality. He's got the movement. He's got, the speed at times. Like, it just feels like that's, a great RB1 temporary solution. Again, maybe a little hot on the contract, for my taste. I'm certainly thinking the Chargers would think the same thing, but it's almost reflective, in my opinion, of how important the run game is to get right. And if Aaron Jones and that extra $3 million to get him on the roster, that may end up being worth it just because of how immediate you need that return and how big of an improvement it would make to the offense if you just had that really good RB1 that fit what you're trying to do. And again, it's all temporary because the Chargers, I'm almost going to guarantee it, are going to draft their future RB1 in this class, right? Imagine if they get Cam Skattebo, okay? And you pair him up with Aaron Jones. You let the young guy, learn and you give him as many snaps as you can, but you still have a strong game because of Aaron Jones. It feels like a really good 1-2 punch while the young guys are developing. I like it a lot. And lastly, the last guy on my list, a position that it's so important. And it's so important to the fact that I almost wish I had it higher. I think it's not because I see more trades helping this position more rather than free agent guys because there's not a lot of free agent talent at the position right now. But it's going to be tight end. And I got the Chargers being very wise to target Mike Gesicki right now. Mike Gesicki is a great example of something like we talked in the previous position, right? Like our previous position, Chargers, like the fact that they're likely going to get an RB1, I do think they're going to get a tight end 1 in this draft. I think a lot of people are projecting, guys like Warren and especially Colston Loveland to the team. I really think that's a strong possibility. But till then, you want some, form of an upgrade at the position, help ease the rookie in, but also really help form what you're trying to do at the position. Like tight end is a massively important position to the Jim Harbaugh team. It really is. Everywhere he's been, tight end has been a very big factor. And this season, they got the money and resources to go after it. I as much as, I want Colston Loveland on this football team, and I think he will be, I want more than just Colston Loveland. I want help everywhere. Right? We need help, especially in terms of receiving from the position. I still love Will Dissly as a blocker. I think he's excellent there, but we need help at tight end everywhere. And I think bringing Mike Gesicki, drafting Colston Loveland, maybe, rolling out with the 2 tight ends, more often than not, that's kind of what I want to see. Gesicki, to me, in terms of like talent, he proved it this year, right? He can be awesome when paired with a really good quarterback. A lot like T. Higgins, right? You got that Joe Burrow energy. You're going to see that Joe Burrow kind of return. And him and Burrow, they produced, 665 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's solid. That's solid. And those are great numbers to mix in with young talent like Colston Loveland. Let's get that tight end position right because I feel like you get tight end right, you get inter-offensive line right, you get wide receiver right in terms of wide receiver 1. And then, sparkle it in with a really good running back. I just named all the positions, right? Outside of quarterback. But it's something that the Chargers can't accomplish this year. We have the money. We have the picks. Let's just go do it, man. Get this offense right. Keep the defense, moving in the right direction. Get a guy like Milton Williams. Get a guy, like I like Julian Blackmon a lot. You'll keep things going in the right direction after this 11-win season. Not just making it into the postseason, but thriving in the postseason is going to be the objective for me going into this year. And moves like this would certainly help push you in that direction. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way back. Get a good look, man. I think you may see 1 or 2 more videos in this setup, but we are just about getting ready to move the set over to my new place where the videos should start consistently coming out at a better pace after we're done moving. But till then, you're going to see a little bit less outside of like Bleacher Report and stuff. So we're almost there. Hang in there. It's been long. You guys can probably see the tiredness in my eyes. It's been a long move, but we're almost done. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. We'll catch you next time. As always, bolt up and stay frosty. Yeah, man. Give me I think Drew Dahlman, the secret hero of this list, him and Milton Williams would be an awesome signing for this football team.